Is it possible to strike that perfect balance between the relentless efficiency of the industry and the noble genetics of old-world breeds? We've all been at that crossroads, admiring a production hybrid's ability to pump out an egg every single day without fail, while simultaneously mourning how fragile and short-lived they truly are. On the other hand, we look at heritage breeds, robust, beautiful, and resilient birds that seem etched into the history of poultry, yet often struggle to keep up with the production demands of a modern self-reliance project. Today, we are going to break the myth that these two realities must live in separate worlds. We are diving into a genetic experiment designed to capture the best of both, the cross between the legendary purebred light Sussex and the powerful, though often misunderstood, Isa Brown. This isn't just another backyard cross. It is a deep dive analysis into food sovereignty, hybrid vigor, and the biological reality of what happens when we try to fix industrial fragility with heritage strength. Get ready to discover why uniformity is sometimes the enemy of survival, and how genetic diversity can be your greatest ally in the coop. Let's get started. To understand where we are headed with this cross, we first have to dissect exactly what an Isa Brown is with surgical precision. Often, the beginner breeder makes the mistake of calling it a breed, but in the world of high-level poultry genetics, the Isa Brown is a product, a feat of engineering designed through a four-way cross that major companies keep under lock and key. It is not a stable genetic entity, but rather a combination of lines selected from Rhode Island Reds and Rhode Island Whites, optimized for one single purpose: to convert every gram of feed into egg protein with an efficiency that defies natural biology. This bird is a biochemical athlete living in a race against time. Her metabolism is so accelerated that she mobilizes calcium from her own bones into the eggshell at an astonishing rate, which often results in the premature physical burnout we all know as production fatigue. When we integrate an Isa Brown into our breeding program, we aren't bringing in centuries of genetic heritage. We are bringing a spark of extreme productivity that, if not handled carefully, can burn out as fast as it shines. She is a hen designed for a system, for controlled lighting and precision nutrition, and taking her out of that environment to put her on the ground, on pasture, and into the real world of homesteading is the first big challenge this experiment aims to solve. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the Sussex, specifically the light Sussex variety, with its distinctive Colombian pattern, which has been the backbone of the British and global poultry scene for generations. If the Isa Brown is a Formula One race car, the Sussex is a luxury all-terrain vehicle, robust, reliable, and capable of crossing any landscape with elegance. The Sussex is a true dual-purpose heritage breed, which means it possesses a massive bone and muscle structure that allows it to not only lay a respectable amount of large, firm-shelled eggs, but also to develop a meat carcass with real culinary value. Their temperament is the definition of docility, a trait that is often underestimated but vital when looking for a flock that is easy to manage in free-range systems. Genetically, the Sussex is a source of stability. Its traits have been fixed through decades of selective breeding under high standards of perfection. By choosing it as the other half of our cross, we are looking to inject that bone structure, that time-hardened immune system, and that longevity that allows a hen to remain productive into her third or fourth year of life. Something that is simply a biological pipe dream for a commercial hybrid. When we join these two giants, we enter the fascinating territory of heterosis, or hybrid vigor. Theory tells us that by crossing two genetically distant lines, the resulting offspring tend to outperform their parents in traits like survival rate, disease resistance, and environmental adaptability. However, this is where we must be honest and direct with the science, moving away from the oversimplifications that often plague internet forums. There is a persistent myth that this cross will result in sex-linked chicks, meaning we could tell males from females just by their down color at hatch. But the reality is much more complex and, for some, disappointing. The Isa Brown is sex-linked in its first generation because it is the result of a specific cross where the genes linked to sex, like the silver gene and the gold gene, are perfectly aligned. But since the Isa Brown is already a first-generation hybrid, its own genetics are a mix of those original lines. When you breed that hen to a pure Sussex rooster, you break the combination lock. What you get is not a uniform production line, but a genuine genetic crapshoot. This genetic lottery is precisely what makes this experiment so valuable for the serious breeder. In the offspring, you will see Mendelian segregation in all its glory. Some chicks will be born with creamy white down, others with brown spots, some will show traces of the Colombian pattern, and others will look like diluted versions of their industrial mothers. Identifying sex by color at this point is, quite simply, impossible with any degree of technical certainty. Trying to do so based on down color is pure guesswork, because the factors of the silver gene and the Colombian gene are shuffling in a way that does not follow the pattern of first-generation commercial hybrids. As breeders, we must embrace this uncertainty. Losing the ability to sex at hatch is the small price we pay for breaking industrial rigidity. Instead of looking for laboratory standard aesthetic uniformity, we are looking for functional diversity in the field. Each of those chicks, regardless of color, carries a unique combination of the mother's hyperproductivity and the father's robustness, creating a population that will be much more fit to survive temperature swings, local parasites, and the challenges of life outside a cage. It is crucial to understand that by working with a second generation or a backcross with hybrids, we are defying the industry norm that expects every bird to be a clone of the last. In the industry, variability is a loss of money. On the homestead, variability is an insurance policy. If all your hens are genetically identical and a disease or extreme weather event hits, they will all go down at once. But in the Sussex and Isa Brown cross, that crapshoot we mentioned delivers individuals with different metabolic capacities. Some resulting hens will lean more toward the Sussex phenotype, being heavier birds that might lay fewer eggs but will be more resistant to extreme cold. Others will inherit more of the Isa Brown spark, maintaining a surprisingly high lay rate, but with a body far more capable of sustaining that physical effort thanks to the frame inherited from the Sussex. This is the true meaning of creating a survival strain. Not looking for a show-standard bird, but a dynamic population that adapts to your specific management, your climate, and your available resources. Something no international genetics company can sell you in a cardboard box. At the end of this first stage of the process, we must look at our chicks not as a failed product for lacking uniformity, but as the beginning of a new baseline. We are witnessing the rebirth of the vigor that is lost in extreme selection. Science tells us that inbreeding and hyperselection weaken overall health in exchange for a single productive trait. By introducing the Sussex, we are cleaning up those design flaws. We are providing a skeletal base where calcium isn't a scarce resource but a solid structural component. We are bringing back the foraging instinct that allows the hen to not just rely on commercial pellets, but to know how to seek out minerals and proteins from the soil. And even if we can't tell, just by looking at them, who is a cockerel and who is a pullet on day one, what we can be sure of is that each of those individuals has a biological advantage their industrial mothers never had: the chance at a long, productive life, balancing the scale between frenetic production and ancestral resilience. Once we have accepted that uniformity is not the goal, but rather resilience, we must look toward the tangible results that this Sussex and Isa Brown cross will put in our hands. We cannot expect these birds to behave like biological stopwatches, but what we can project is a much more balanced and, above all, sustainable lay curve over the long term. While a pure industrial hen usually gives us a very high production peak that drops drastically after the first 14 months, the descendants of this cross tend to offer a more constant egg production. We are talking about a realistic expectation of between 240 and 260 eggs per year. For a large-scale commercial breeder, this might look like a loss, but for the backyard breeder or the small-scale pasture-raised egg producer, this is the golden number. It is the exact point where the hen does not fall apart physically from the effort, and the breeder receives a constant flow of high-quality protein without having to replace their flock every year and a half. This translates to significant savings in brooding and replacement costs. But quantity is not everything. The real magic of this experiment manifests in the quality of the egg and the strength of the bird's reproductive system. By integrating Sussex genetics, we are inheriting a superior capacity for mineral assimilation. In industrial layers, it is common to see the shell quality deteriorate rapidly over time, becoming fragile and porous. However, having a denser bone structure and a slower metabolism allows these second-generation hybrid birds to deposit more uniform and resistant layers of calcium. The result is an egg with superior shelf life and a mechanical resistance that reduces losses due to breakage. Additionally, the egg color usually falls within a very attractive range of creams and light browns for the end consumer, who instinctively associates those tones with freshness and natural rearing. It is a technical victory that results in a superior product, born from a hen that is not on the verge of metabolic collapse with every lay. One of the most fascinating aspects we will observe as these birds grow is their foraging capacity and their survival instinct in the field. The industrial Isa Brown has lost much of its connection to the environment. It is a bird that expects the feed to come to her. In contrast, the Sussex is a tireless searcher, an explorer that knows how to find proteins in insects and minerals in spontaneous vegetation. The offspring of this cross inherit that active curiosity. You will see birds that spend the day roaming the terrain, thus reducing absolute dependence on commercial balanced feed. This not only lowers production costs but also drastically improves the nutritional profile of the egg, increasing levels of omega fatty acids and vitamins that are only obtained through a diversified diet in a free-range setting. We are giving the hen back her role as a biological transformer of the landscape, turning what was once just weeds into high biological value food for our families. We also cannot forget the fate of the males in this scheme. In the egg industry, the male of the light lines is a byproduct without value. But in our cross, thanks to the influence of the Sussex, the scenario changes completely. The resulting male possesses a meat conformation that, while not competing in speed with an industrial broiler, does offer a carcass with real volume and flavor. These are birds that develop firm musculature and intramuscular fat that can only be achieved with time and exercise. This closes the circle of self-reliance. The females provide us with eggs for years, and the males become an ethical and healthy source of meat for the home. It is a return to the concept of real dual purpose that should never have been abandoned, where every individual born in the coop has a clear purpose and real utility within the ecosystem of the small farm. Regarding behavior, this cross offers us emotional stability in the flock that is a relief for any breeder. Industrial layers tend to be nervous and prone to feather picking or stress at any change in their routine. The Sussex, on the contrary, is famous for its docility and phlegmatic character. The resulting hybrid is usually a calm bird, easy to catch and handle, which drastically reduces cortisol levels in the henhouse. A stress-free flock is a healthier flock, with an immune system functioning at full capacity. Additionally, there is a high probability that we will recover part of the broody instinct that has been erased from the industrial lines. This means you might find yourself with hens capable of incubating their own eggs and raising their chicks, thus closing the reproductive cycle naturally and eliminating the need to depend on electric incubators or external purchases of pullets. Climate adaptability is another fundamental pillar of this survival cross. Many high-production hens suffer terribly with sudden temperature changes. Extreme heat exhausts them, and intense cold stops their laying completely. The robustness of the Sussex acts here as a thermal shield. Thanks to denser plumage and larger body fat reserves, these birds face harsh winters better without their health being at risk. Similarly, their greater lung and circulatory capacity allows them to better manage heat stress compared to industrial birds that have small hearts and hyperactive metabolisms. It is, in essence, an all-terrain bird, designed to function in the reality of a world with increasingly unpredictable climates, offering food security where other more delicate breeds would fail. Looking toward the future, these types of genetic experiments are what guarantee our independence as breeders. Relying exclusively on large international genetic houses makes us vulnerable. By learning to manage our own crosslines, understanding how genes are shuffled, and how to select the best individuals from our own production, we are recovering ancestral knowledge that was being lost. We are stopping being simple consumers of pullets to become architects of our own food security. Every flock we raise under this scheme is a lesson in applied biology, an opportunity to observe how nature adapts and strengthens when we give it the right tools. It is a continuous learning path that connects us with the earth and with deep respect for the living beings that sustain us. Reaching the final stages of raising these birds is a rewarding experience that goes beyond the numbers on a spreadsheet. It is seeing an animal that feels comfortable in its skin, that enjoys the sun, that searches for its food with vigor, and that delivers an honest product every morning. It is understanding that perfection does not lie in all hens being the same, but in all of them being functional and strong. This Sussex and Isa Brown cross is just the beginning. It is the gateway to a world of possibilities where we, the backyard breeders, have the final word. Science is on our side, but passion and daily observation are what truly make the difference between an ordinary henhouse and a true reserve of life and productivity. As we close this analysis, it is clear that the path toward a more humane and efficient poultry farming does not involve choosing between the past or the future, but knowing how to integrate the best of both. The cross between the Sussex and the Isa Brown is a testament that the intervention of the breeder, guided by observation and respect for biology, can create solutions where the industry only sees problems. We have explored the genetic lottery, hybrid vigor, and the amazing recovery capacity of nature when we give it back its space. Raising these birds is an act of resistance and wisdom, a way to ensure that our tables never lack quality food, produced with respect and knowledge. Let this video be an invitation for you to dare to experiment, to observe, and to improve your own flock day after day. Remember that this community is strengthened by your experiences. Leave us your comments below. Have you tried this cross? What results have you obtained in your specific climate? Your contributions help us continue creating technical and practical content that truly impacts the life of your coop and the success of your project. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with other poultry enthusiasts, because together we are building the new encyclopedia of backyard poultry. To your success, fellow breeder, until next time.